Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is today's setup, and as you see, I am going to film something. The camera setup is ready, and the camera is clamped onto the TH04 Ulanzi stand. If you can see, we have a glass jar. So there is this setup for a particular reason. I am going to show you how important it is to use a diffuser. There is a big diffuser there, and why it is so important to use a diffuser and light absorber, which usually is a black cardboard or a black foam board. At the moment, I'm using a black cardboard, and I wanted to demonstrate how important it is to use a diffuser for throwing light softly on your subject while you are shooting those delicate product or food videos. And at the same time, you want to ensure there is no overlighting or there is no harsh light on that particular product, on that subject, and the light that falls on it is soft enough to give that soothing final look to that particular output. So at the moment I have this setup and I'm going to prepare cold coffee, and I do have the ingredients ready: milk, coffee decoction, and some ice cubes to give it that feel. So before I start preparing it, I wanted to demonstrate how important the use of this particular lighting setup is, and what happens if I don't use this lighting setup. I have the DSLR mounted here, and I will be showing you live how exactly the subject's look changes as I make the light fall directly on it without any diffuser, or as I increase the brightness to maximum and have a diffuser. So in all the scenarios, we will see how light changes and how the look of the final product changes, or the subject changes in this condition, as and when we change the settings of the light and see how harsh or soft it makes the product look like. So to start with, I'll turn on the DSLR here, and I hope you can see the screen. And I will go ahead and try and change the different modes of light. First, I'll try and see how it looks like when I do not use a diffuser, when the harsh light directly falls on the glass bottle, and we'll see how it looks. And we'll also see how it looks without using the black light absorber over there. And in different situations, we'll try and understand how light gives a particular look to the product that is kept over here. And also, it is very important to know this thing, because end of the day you are going to deal with light, right? The product shoots or the food photography that we do solely depends on how lighting is placed at certain places. So this is going to be a workshop style of video, and it will be purely unscripted. We will show you live as to how things change as and when we change the lighting that's kept there. And I'm using only one light source, which is the Godox SL60, and that's the only key light I am using here. So we'll see how things look different as and when I change the lighting. So I'll go ahead and remove the black light absorber. So it is clamped over here, so I'll go ahead and remove this first. So if I do this, do you see there has been a change in how it looks right now? There is a lot of light spill, and there is nothing to absorb that extra spill of light. I'm not sure if you are able to see the change very well. However, the moment I removed the light absorber, the look changed, because there is more light that's spilling in different directions, and it's uncontrolled right now. So I would want to control the light, and hence if you see here, the moment I place the light absorber into a certain direction, there's a lot of light that's being controlled, and the light spill is not there, it's limited. If I place it at different angles, obviously I'll place it somewhere here so that the light spill is controlled. If I remove it, you see there is a lot of light that's spilling outside the glass jar, and we would want to control that to give it a contrast effect. So here's where I would finally keep the black cardboard to give it that contrast, and so that there is limited light spill around the glass bottle. Now that we see displacing the light absorber or the black cardboards gives it a different look altogether. There is a lot of light spill and uncontrolled light around the glass jar. We would want to control it by keeping it back, and also at the same time we are trying to see how the glass jar looks overall when we remove the diffuser and let the light directly fall on it. So I'll go ahead and remove the diffuser in front of the SL60 key light. So let's take a look here. First of all, I will go ahead and move the diffuser out. So if you see, the diffuser has been moved out, right? And the light is directly falling on my subject. Let's see how it looks like now. So if you see, there is very harsh light that's concentrated into one particular area, over there, or somewhere that you see onto the screen of the DSLR, right? So this is not exactly how I want the product to look like, or the glass jar to look like, right? When I'm shooting an aesthetic video of making coffee, I would obviously want, the entire portion to be well lit and light spill to be controlled. But here the light is concentrated into one particular area that you see here. This looks a little ugly because I do not want the light to fall there. I want it to fall on the jar. So if I, move the light, and what if I make it fall on the jar? Let's see what happens. I brought the key light closer to the glass jar, and if you see now, the harsh light directly falls on the glass jar and gives it this look. So I would say, this is not a pleasant look, because obviously when you are trying to shoot this, you will see that most of the portions of the entire environment here, including the glass jar, does not look very well lit. There is this harsh light that is concentrated into one area of the glass jar only, and the other section of the light is being absorbed by the black cardboard here. So the moment I remove the black cardboard, do you see there is a rim effect that comes on to the side of the glass, which was not there. So if I keep it here back, the sides of the glass are not well lit because the spill is controlled right now. But if I move the black cardboard, the sides of the glass gets well lit. So if you desire to give your glass jar or coffee making video this sort of a look, then it's up to you. However, I would not prefer this, because I would want soft light to be falling on the overall process, or the glass jar while coffee is being prepared. So I would rather want light to be diffused and to make it fall on the overall subject while I prepare the coffee, to give it a very aesthetic look. So to do that, I will put the cardboards back so that light spill is controlled again, and I'll place it in a way so that it doesn't obstruct the frame. And at the same time, what I'll do is I will ensure that the diffuser is put back. So before we put the diffuser back, what happens if we try to reduce the brightness? Let's see. So I've reduced the brightness to minimum right now, and I would say the light has been a little softer. This gives a little bit of good glow to the overall jar. The look has changed a bit, and it looks far better because there is no harsh light that's falling. However, if you see, the light is still concentrated into one particular section of the table, and even though it is directed to the glass jar, it has to fall somewhere, right? So, and it looks like the light is acting as a distraction on the overall video, which I would not want to happen. So rather, to create light falling as a particular blot on the entire frame, I would want it to be diffused and make it softer so that it falls well on the subject, and it's distributed well on the subject is what I meant. So it should fall as a properly distributed light source, and it has to give the subject a well lit output, not like light concentrated into one particular section. So I'll try to put the diffuser back, increase the brightness, and see how it looks. So the diffuser is put back into the original place, and now if you see, if I have to show you the screen of the DSLR and show how it looks like, so the brightness is the same, and the diffuser is acting as a guard between the harsh light and the subject. So remember how light was concentrated into one particular section right out there as a circular cloud, and it was giving a distractive look to the overall frame. So the focus or the attention of the viewer might shift from what's happening in the glass jar, from the fact that someone is trying to show you aesthetic coffee preparation, from looking at that particular blot of cloud that was falling directly on the table, and it was giving it a very distracting look. Now if you see, there is still something reflecting on the disk, but it is not concentrated onto one particular section of area. It is now distributed properly across the table, little better, because it is still not falling onto one particular section of the table and giving it a distracting look. Rather, if you see, it is now little bit or comparatively well distributed on the glass jar. So the glass jar is well lit, and if you see, there is very minimal light spill on this particular area, right? So there is a light spill, but it's very controlled because this cardboard foam is absorbing the light spill that's around the glass jar. So you see how important it is to keep a black cardboard there so that you can give it that contrast look and make sure that light spill is controlled to, shift all your focus on what's happening in the subject. So I will improve this further and let's see how we can do that. So at the moment, brightness is minimum and the light is falling through a diffuser and the black foam is doing its job. So I'll go ahead and increase the brightness of the key light. Let's see how the subject or the glass jar looks like. So I've increased the brightness now and you see a difference right now because now a more amount of light falls on or near the glass jar and it gives it a better look without any light focused on any particular section of the table. Right now the glass bottle is very well lit. Whatever I actually pour inside the glass bottle will be very clearly visible because now every inch of the glass bottle is perfectly well lit by a soft diffused light. So you see the difference between using a harsh light and a diffused light here. So how important the diffuser becomes when you are trying to project light onto something that you want to create, something that you want to show in a very unique way. You would not want a lot of shadows or you would not want a lot of light, but you would want a balanced look. So why not have a soft light source falling on it and a black color doing its job by absorbing the extra light spill. So we will see how well we can further improvise this look and let's see what all additional things we can do. And just to remind again that I am only using one light source at the moment, which is the Godox SL60, and there is no other light being used at the moment. So I'll try and move the direction of the key light so that we do not have any even a little bit of light concentrated on the table. Rather we'll try and ensure the light exactly falls on the glass and the rest of it is absorbed by the black cardboards on the right. So now I went ahead and changed the angle of the key light to make it fall on the glass jar, and I tilted it a little bit so that the light is directed on the subject rather than any of it is misdirected on the table. So on the right side, if you see here, the light spill is very minimum. If I tap my focus on the glass jar, the light spill on the right is very minimal, and also I do not have any other concentrated blot formation on the table that was shifting my focus away from the main subject. So this is a little bit of improvement. So we were able to achieve it only with the help of the diffuser and placing light at the right angle. Furthermore, we can just try and see how well things may look like if I increase the f-stops. So I would just make it f5. Let's take it to f6 and beyond. So I get a bit of more contrast as I increase the f-stops, and if I have to play around with the shutter speed, let's see how that looks like if I increase it a little bit, because I would really need high shutter speeds because I will be pouring stuff inside the jar, and I will also have to increase my light source, the brightness of the light source, so that I can capture every minute detail of the objects falling inside the jar at a decent speed so that the frames do not look broken, and for that reason I need a high shutter speed here. So with a high shutter speed, let's take 1000 at the moment, and if you see now, the look has changed because the light falling on it looks to have reduced, right? So I would not want it to have this look because then it will accumulate noise. I'll just try to reduce the f-stops a little so that I can have more light falling on the subject without accumulating any sort of noise. So I think this looks a little better than the previous one. Now on the right side of the glass jar, there is very little or controlled light spill, and all the light that falls is towards the glass jar, and I see a brightly lit subject, which is my glass jar, and whatever I do will surely be captured in focus. So let's try and start shooting the video, we'll see how it looks like when I actually start to pour the ice cubes and the milk and the coffee decoction inside it, and see how the looks change. So this is the position at which I want to keep it, because I feel that right now with the angle at which the SL60W key light is placed, the light source is directed directly on the glass jar, and it passes through a diffuser. That's the reason the light that passes through falls very softly on the glass jar. So if you see, I do not have much of light spills or harsh lighting on the desk where the glass jar is kept, only because the light is firstly kept at very less brightness, and also it passes through a diffuser, making it very soft. So I would want to increase the light a bit, because I would not want any chances of noise accumulating in my final video, which may require a post-processing. So I would try to increase the brightness a little bit, so that the light falling on it through the diffuser becomes softer and is bright at the same time. So let's try doing it. So I'm increasing the brightness of the key light, and if you see right now, the glass jar is very well lit. I do not see a reason as to why there could be any sort of final noise grains on the video. So the glass jar is well lit. Also, it has to be balanced enough so that there is no extra reflections on the rims of the glass jar. So you have to be very careful as to what is the brightness level that you select based on your studio conditions, and ensure that you have a well lit and a balanced light falling on your subject when you are shooting. So we'll give a final try looking at the output, by removing the diffuser, and see how exactly the entire setup looks like without the diffuser creating a soft light, and how harsh it gets. So let's try and see. So this is at a very high brightness right now, and I am slowly removing the diffuser. So the light directly falls on the glass jar, as you see. But if you see, there is an unwanted shadow behind the glass jar now, right? And because the light is very harsh and directly falling on the glass jar, no matter if I reduce it or not, it will still give it a harsh look, because the light source is not being softened, the light source is not diffused, by which I mean to say the light source falls directly on a subject, creating a harsh environment. Comparatively, if you have the light pass through a soft diffuser and then play around with the brightness, I think you will be very close to achieving a desired look on your subject. So if I keep it at this setting, there will be unwanted reflections on the rims of the glass jar, which I would not want. I would want the entire focus in the video to be there in the process of making cold coffee, and not on the reflections appearing at the rim of the jar. So I would not want harsh light to directly fall on my subject. Rather, I'll put the diffuser back. So let's do that. And the moment I do that, if you see here, initially the light was falling directly on it, and there were additional light spills which were also very harsh, around the jar. But the moment I put the diffuser back, the light gets diffused and evenly gets distributed around the glass jar and on it as well. So the moment I place the diffuser in front of the key light, it becomes brighter, it becomes softer, and it gets diffused, which means it evenly gets distributed and falls around the jar and on the jar, giving it a very soothing look. So let's try doing it. So as I said, the brightness, is controlled right now. And if you see, the glass jar is well lit without any harsh shadows on the rim of it. And if you see, the glass jar does not have a lot of harsh reflections on the rim, and it has a very balanced look at the moment, with light, or rather soft light, falling on it via the diffuser. If I have to increase the brightness a little bit more, I would get a better look. But you have to be careful as to how well you are balancing the light to fall on the glass jar, because it has to be a very balanced look. Otherwise, the role of the diffuser may just fail. So if I take the camera close to the glass jar, and if you see here, right now the diffused light falls on the glass jar, and it's evenly distributed across the table and around the glass jar, and the rest part of the spill is being absorbed by the black foam. Earlier, without the diffuser, the key light was directly falling on one particular portion of the desk or on the jar, thereby creating a very harsh or a concentrated light spot, and that was distracting. So we have gotten rid of that. Now the light spill is soothing to the eyes. You see soft light spilled in a controlled manner around the jar, and the rest of it is being absorbed by the blackboard. So I'll go ahead and start preparing it, and let's see how it turns out to be. So now if you see, the lower portion of the glass jar is not very well lit. The portion right there, right at the bottom. So that is not very well lit. Let me show you from the DSLR screen. So if you see here, the upper portion is well lit, but not the lower portion. That's primarily because the camera is facing this way, right? But I would also want the lower portion to be equally well lit so that I can capture when the coffee gets mixed with the milk. So to do that, I will introduce a fill light now, because all this while I was trying to shoot with one light. But right now I will go ahead and put a small LED light towards somewhere near the bottom of the glass jar, so that the light stays softly focused over there. If I try and place it somewhere here, right, I'm just trying to adjust the brightness and the color contrast of the LED light. Right now I'm just going ahead and putting the coffee, and let's see how that gets mixed. So now the preparation is complete, and I hope I was able to show you the importance of using a soft light versus a harsh light. So I feel I was able to show you the difference between harsh light falling on a subject versus giving it a diffused and a soft look. So in the process of preparing coffee today, I wanted to convey a message, which is whenever you are trying to play around with light or with one light source, try and see if you can adjust it to a particular direction, so that the light falls at a desired angle, and also give it a very soft look, so that the light that you want to play with, or the light that you want to play an important role, should not backfire and should not give it a very harsh and unwanted final look at the product. So all that I'm trying to say is the role of a diffuser is extremely important when you are trying to shoot things in a studio or probably outside. Sometimes when you are shooting under the harsh sunlight, a diffuser plays a very important role. In this case, inside my studio, I always, or most of the times, I direct my SL60W key light through a diffuser, because I would not want harsh lighting on my subject, and rather I would prefer a soft and diffused light to be there in the entire frame, giving it a very soft and aesthetic look. I'm enjoying my coffee, and if you are a new visitor, please do subscribe, like, comment, and share. And if you are a returning visitor, thanks a lot for your patience and time hearing me out. Cheers.